I am delighted to report that I have joined as a visiting scholar the Declaration of Independence Center for the Study of American Freedom at the University of Mississippi. The center offers educational opportunities, speakers, internship, and reading groups for the University of Mississippi community. It is named in honor of the United States founding document, which constitutes the nation as a political community and expresses fundamental principles of American freedom, including in the recognition of the importance of Judeo Christian values in shaping American exceptionalism. Dedicated to the academic and open minded exploration of these principles, the center exists to encourage exploration into the many facets of freedom. It will sponsor a speaker series and an interdisciplinary faculty research team. If you'd like to learn more about the center, please visit OleMiss, that's OLEMISS.edu/independence/.
Ladies and gentlemen, have I got a guest for you today? I've got with me here Yossi Cohen, who used to be the former director of the Mossad from 2016 to 2021. Today, his inaugural book drops right here. Let me read it for you. The Sword of Freedom, Israel, Mossad, and the Secret War. Welcome, Yossi. How you doing?
Thank you very much, God. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, just so that we clear all of the rumors that have been circulating on the internet, can you confirm, as the former director of the Mossad, that Professor Gad Saad has never been, nor is he currently, a Mossad agent? Can I get that confirmation from you?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, yeah, I know that we have to counter all these rumors, even though you could have been a great one. I think that you have the assets to be an operative at the Mossad, but you've never done that, unfortunately, and you're not working with the Mossad, not then, not today.
Well, thank God. Hopefully, people will pay attention to you. Okay, I guess the first question, Yossi, does the Mossad come and find you, or do you go find the Mossad? In that, how often is it that there is a set pathway by which you end up in the Mossad versus they identify qualities in you and then approach you? How does that work?
Okay, I mean there are two versions. I mean, one is that you would, if you would like to volunteer working in the Mossad. I mean, and we do have a website these days. We didn't have that at that time that I was recruited. You can eventually approach the Mossad yourself, and you can be a volunteer to the Mossad. I mean, the minute that you will send your CV, you will be eventually looked upon, and people will start to read about you and will take that seriously. I have to admit that since we have activated this website of ours and that you can see what the Mossad is doing. I mean, according to what we can say. I mean, as much as we can say, we can't say much. And you can eventually send your CV along into the website or into the lines that are secured. I mean, to make sure that your CV will get to the right hands of the Mossad recruitment department, the HR. The number of CVs that we received has dramatically grown. And we do receive something between 50 to 60,000 CVs a year, which is a lot. The other way is the way I was recruited to the Mossad. I was approached by them.
Right.
I was approached, by the way, in London. I was a student in London just after the first Lebanon War. I mean, I was a commander and a soldier there, and resigning from the army. I mean, my wife and myself. I mean, we flew to London. I mean, and then we had been like free students. I mean, for English, for literature, and stuff like that. And I was approached there by the Mossad. The minute they did, by the way, I said yes. I would love to hear what you have to say. And the rest is history. So there are two different ways to be a Mossad member. Either you volunteer through the web, or they will approach you.
Did your wife, upon the Mossad approaching you, did she try to temper your excitement and say, "Hey, look, you're supposed to be an English literature major or whatever it is," or was she as excited as you? Let's do it.
No, she was as excited as me. I think that being Israelis, I mean, super young. I mean, we'd been 21, 22 years of age. I mean, super Zionist and Bnei Akiva, I mean, from our experience and education in Israel, I think that she's, I mean, till today, I mean, she supported that. And yeah, Actually, Mossad, when you enter this organization, you are recruited as a couple. I mean, the entire family has to support that. I mean, not the entire family, your parents, your whatever, your brothers and sisters, but your wife, your husband. I mean, in case that you are an operative woman, I mean, they have to know what you do and they have to agree to that. I mean, you cannot really work in this kind of job when you travel so much and when you're absent so much and when you don't really have normal life anymore and there's nothing to tell the neighbors or your friends what do you do and where you are. It's kind of a problematic thing that has to be dramatically supported by your wife or husband.
Interesting, because I mean, I'm going to bring up arguably, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, the most famous Israeli spy of all time, Eli Cohen. Uh, if I'm not mistaken, he did live a full double life where his home family was unaware of what he did outside of that. Is that true?
Well, Nadia, his wife, knew
Okay.
that he was working. Yeah, of course he did. I mean, the kids were very young. I mean, the three kids, I mean, were babies at the time. I mean, very, very young kids. And they knew nothing. I don't think that the environment knew anything about what he does or what he did. And but Nadia knew, and there was a lot of pressure inside a family, a lot of pressure, not only theirs at the time, but even today's. I mean, there's a lot of pressure inside the families. I mean, to make sure that they know what you do, they know where you go. I mean, they don't really understand. I mean, the level of the risk and where you're traveling to. I mean, they're not entering these kind of details. Not that they cannot, but we do not share with them on a daily basis. But the family should support that, and it creates a lot of pressure. I mean, in my subordinates, I mean, among my subordinates, I mean, there were cases that family was not supportive enough, and they had to resign from the professional job, and we took them away from the streets.
And when you leave the Mossad, as you did in 2021, do you ever leave the Mossad, or is the Mossad always there, one call away? Or you completely, there's a rupture and it was part of my past and I'm now on to new things?
There's a kind of a guillotine time in which you have to leave. I mean, you're not part of the operations anymore. You do not have the responsibility anymore. I mean, in June 1st, 2021, till 10 o'clock, I was responsible for everything. An hour later, I was responsible for nothing. I mean, it's not mine anymore. I mean, and it's a big change. But the Mossad is with me. I mean, every day. I mean, I appreciated a lot what I did. I mean, I loved the job. I loved the risk. I loved traveling. I loved the recruitment. I mean, being on the streets. I loved working for the State of Israel and for the Jewish communities. I loved serving the world when we've counterterrorism, not only for the sake of the State of Israel or the Jewish people, but for everybody else. I mean, I felt that I did what I was meant to do as an Israeli, and I was fulfilled. I mean, from the age of 22 when I was recruited till the age of almost 60 when I resigned. Um, and it's meaningful life. This is something very important. So I look backwards, I think, with a super high level of satisfaction.
Right. Maybe we can get into some of the geopolitical realities, some of which, of course, you were involved in. You could probably imagine what's the first one I'm going to talk about, October 7th. I myself, I'm a bit stumped, and I've got the right guy to ask the question. What happened that Israel wasn't able to react quickly enough? Can you give, because of course, online I hear endless conspiratorial stories. Israel is in on it. They turned a blind eye, of course, blah, blah, blah. So set it straight for us, Yossi. What happened?
Okay, so I think that there's no any conspiracies that I can trust. I truly believe, unfortunately, that it was a huge failure. See, as simple as that, or not as simple as that. I mean, it put the country in a very dangerous situation. God, in on the national level of security, there are two lines of defense, the one that you see and the one that you don't see. The one that you don't see is the line of defense that we are creating, I mean, the intelligence organizations. This line of defense is super important because it has to be worked upon daily or minute by minute. Our main job, Mossad is operating only outside of the state of Israel, behind the enemy lines. We do not do neither Gaza nor Judea and Samaria, the West Bank. We don't do that. We operate in Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, ta 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 ta. I will not refer to other countries that we do, but we do all the world if needed. Nevertheless, this line of defense that we are creating needs a lot of penetrative work, penetrative job. I mean, to go behind the enemy lines and to get the intel that we need to make sure that we know what the enemy is planning for us, to make sure that we are aware of any either tactical or strategic event that's happening against the state of Israel or being planned against the state of Israel. We have to know that. So to either learn about their deeds or their thoughts, and more often to disrupt it. And let's say there is a terrorist, I mean, running in between Indonesia now to Paris, cases that I remember that has happened many times, or from Iraq at the time of Daesh, ISIS, cutting through Syria into the international whatever borders and cutting into Europe, and now he's going to either Paris or London. I mean, you have to know about this guy, and when you do know about him, this is the line of defense of knowing. The second line of defense is disrupting. And I unfortunately, this line of defense has collapsed. I mean, I know that there are many explanations about how did it happen and why did it happen and the conception and all these words. I mean, I cannot accept it. I cannot accept it. I cannot accept that our intelligence organizations did not know well what Hamas is planning for us. So first line of defense has collapsed. The second line of defense is there because the first line of defense is not complete. You don't really know what you don't know, as we say. You see what you see, but you don't know what you don't see. I mean, you will try to go much better, but the enemy on the other side is trying to hide from you, from us. So, since it needs a lot of modesty to understand that you don't know everything, keep the door locked.
Right.
In our house, what do we do? I mean, do we know there is a thief? I mean, running around the neighborhood. I mean, planning to go into your house in Montreal. I mean, just before midnight. No, you don't know that. So what do? You have an alarm system. You have a dog. You have a lock. I mean, you lock the door. You make sure that everything, all the windows are shut. Why is it? We say, if I don't know that he is coming, I assume that he may. Let's not make his life so easy. And unfortunately, this second line of defense collapsed as well. And this is not surprising. This is shocking.
Right.
How come?
I hear you. A lot of people, and again, this has become very evident to me because I'm someone who is very much publicly engaged, and so I see all of the hate coming to Jews in general and to Israel, quote Zionism in particular. One of the arguments that I hear from some of my American friends is, and I think you address this in the book, oh, in the same way that we should be isolationists and not care about what happens in Ukraine, this is not our battle. Why is it that Israel has so intoxicated us into, helping them as much as we do? And of course, the answer is going to be that there's a lot of reciprocity that happens. Talk us a bit through that so that we can quell the idea that it's a one-way parasitic relationship.
Well, in between us and the world, I mean, there is a kind of a very specific relationship. I mean, I don't think that any country is any other country that I'm aware of, and I've been traveling around. I'm sure, like you, Professor Saad. I mean, around the world. I mean, you know countries and you know cultures. I don't think that there is any one single country that you can eventually compare into the state of Israel to the state of Israel on that sense. We have to conduct different type of relationships. Some of them are reciprocating. Some of them are not. I mean, some of them are unilaterally being decided or decide, or we have to take these kind of decisions. I mean, to make sure that the state of Israel will exist if the world like it or if the world doesn't like it. And somehow I would say the problem of being the state of Israel the way it is, or the position of the state of Israel right now, is because this has been failed to be explained.
Right.
The question that you ask cannot be explained only by me. It should be explained by everybody. Why is it that Israel is taking part of these events? And why is it that it doesn't take part of other events like the war in Ukraine? As you correctly mentioned, God. We do not take part of all wars around the world. I mean, we have our own business. I mean, recently there was a kind of a round of violence between Pakistan and India. Should we be part of it, or should we go and fight? I mean, against one side. Of course, we will have the Indians as much as we can, and we did. All right, but we're not going to sell, Ukraine these kind of weapons they absolutely need when the world is not doing it, or where the world is not doing it enough. Why is it? Because as us being Israelis, the equation is absolutely much more should be much more sophisticated, and it is sophisticated because on the war in Ukraine, we have another side that we want to keep on our side, which is Russia. Why is it? Because they had important elements in Syria. And when the Russian presence is so high in Syria, which is the buffer between Iran and Lebanon Hezbollah, we have to make sure that the Russians will allow us to attack either Iranians delivering weapons to the terror organization in Lebanon or else. So you really have to calculate all that in a very different manner, and I hope I answered your
You
question.
did. You mentioned earlier that a case has to be better made and so on for the issues that I asked, which leads me naturally to the next question. And I hope you'll tell me if I'm being fair or not. And I think you also do address this in the book. So when you think, for example, of the Mossad, I mean, you think of almost these superheroes that can pull off the Hezbollah pager thing. You think of all kinds of incredible, where the Mossad agents are pretending to be tennis players in the Gulf countries and take out this guy and that guy. It really is straight out of James Bond movies. Now, when you compare that level of, you know, uh, tactical ability to the propaganda war, and certainly as one who is a big defender of Israel and is, of course, also a very proud Jew, I often say, as somebody who studies psychology of persuasion, I say, why is it that Israel doesn't seem to be quite as adept in pulling off the propaganda war in the way they're able to pull off some of these other miraculous things? Is there an answer to that, or is it just that there are so many haters coming at us that even if there are great points that you're making, you're being drowned by a tsunami of hate?
Right, but this would never release us from the trying to of explanations. Okay, I mean, in simple words, I mean, we have to try better to explain ourselves. The state of Israel exists not only because of its resilience and not only because of who we are. We say in Hebrew, "Am levadad ishkon," and all that, meaning, I mean, the people of Israel will always be kind of isolated. I mean, because of a choice. All right, we need to guard our cultures. We don't want to be mixed with cultures, so they will not, unfortunately or fortunately, I mean, will determine or will eventually destroy our beauty culture. Okay, so but you have to communicate it around the world. I mean, you have to explain what is the state of Israel is all about, and when you do that, I think that you can create a kind of a pushback to the very negative sound that is coming from the world. Eventually, when the war is started, even on normal days, the state of Israel, from its first day of creation, suffers from bad news or bad concept, or I mean, very terrible. I mean, the discussions about the state of Israel and only of its creation. And of course, 67 was a kind of an adjective. I mean, something that the world either was astonished or didn't like, but the expectations of Israel being something that it is not, yeah, is always there. And I think that cynically the world is still communicating that as if we are doing something super wrong. And I think that the state of Israel failed to explain. I don't see anyone even trying to push back. I mean, all this negative news. Like, I know that there are, let's say, a billion that do not agree with the existence of the state of Israel. Some are saying it blankly. State of Israel should disappear, like or annihilated, like in Iran or in other Muslim big nations. I mean, they don't like us from the beginning of the creation of the country. I don't think that I can change their view. But I think that we can do so much better in the UK, in the USA, in France, in Italy, in Poland, in Czech Republic, and so forth, in Latin America, or in Brazil these days, right? I mean, the Brazilian, I mean, president is going
You should come
going
visit
super
Canada to see some Israel hate.
exact, or the Canadian administration or Australia. So countries that do share the same values as the state of Israel now do not accept what we do. Why is it that they do not accept? What have we done since October 7th? I mean, okay, I know. Yeah, we've been blamed to create a kind of intentionally starvation or genocide or humanitarian crisis and all that. We don't do that intentionally. This is maybe there. I'm not sure that there is a hunger in Gaza, but this may be part of the unfortunate situation of the Gazan people because they've been held by a terror organization which doesn't let them live correctly. And the state of Israel is doing that war alone. Well, the world has tried to defeat Daesh. President Obama consolidated 74 countries to fight the same size of organization as Hamas, and everybody was in favor. How many citizens were killed then in cities by whatever bombing? I mean, no one calculated that because the world was like less cynical on that sense. It was like terrifying. We fight the same size of organization called Hamas alone. And nevertheless, I mean, we receive, unfortunately, a lot of criticism from the world.
I hear you.
But I think,
Go ahead, finish your point.
I'm sorry, but I think that we have to try better to explain that.
Yeah, I'm very mindful of your time. I know you have only another 5 minutes, so let me try to get as many questions in.
Please.
Do you imagine? So I wrote The Parasitic Mind, where I talk about getting a mind vaccine to get rid of parasitic ideas. One of the biggest parasitic ideas that has existed since time immemorial is just endemic Jew hatred. Is there a way, when you live in such a rough neighborhood, to ever develop a mind vaccine or a soul vaccine,
An antidote.
an antidote to Jew hatred? Because in my view, Yossi, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, although I think you probably agree, it's not really about land. It's about the fact that Israel belongs to Dar al-Harb. By the way, انت بتحكي عربي كثير منيح
أنا
مظبوط؟
بحكي عربي شفن يا طبعا.
طبعا فظيع.
طبعا.
I just said you speak Arabic, don't you? Look at this. The Lebanese Jew and the former director of the Mossad are speaking in Arabic. There's your viral moment. So, do you think that there could ever be a day, whether you saw it through your connections with the Abraham Accords or all your intimate, friendships that you developed through the years with Arabs and Muslims, where that cancer, whereby you're teaching kids straight out of the womb that the Jew is the ultimate problem in your life, can we get rid of that and be able to live in brotherly peace, or is that me living in a utopia?
I think it is possible, and the best example that I can refer to is what my dear friend and Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed of United Arab Emirates has done and instructed. Immediately after signing the Abraham Accords, he changed the educational system in favor of the state of Israel. So all this that was like probably using bad description of who we are has changed, and they teach positive things about us. And you were absolutely right, Professor Saad. I mean, the minute you will go into the educational system and you will teach kids that being in Israel or being Jewish is okay, they will never think either way around. I mean, it has to be educated positively. Other way, I mean, and this is the best antidote that I can offer.
From your lips to God's ear. Last question. Having served as the former director of the Mossad for 5 years, did you walk away from all of the things that you have experienced with a optimistic view of human nature or a pessimistic view of human nature?
A great question. Um, well, partially I'm optimistic, but knowing the mankind or whatever, I mean, human, very very deep experience. I mean, some of what we see currently is very much worrying. People can create a kind of a hate crime. I mean, even here in New York, I mean, a few days ago, I mean, shooting a kind of a member of the Congress member only because someone thinks differently than him. And at 22 years, boy took a gun and killed him. And this is a terrible thing to know. I think it goes back to the question of optimism, and I think that if education will deal with it, I will be much more optimistic.
Yossi, Charefna, shukran.
الشرف علي شرف إلي.
Shukran. This is the book, people. Go out, buy it. It drops today. Yossi, stay on the line so we could say goodbye offline. Thank you so much for coming on. Real pleasure talking to you. Cheers.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir. Thank
Cheers.
you.